Hello, everybody. Welcome to With Thunder's Applause, a podcast where two friends get together and discuss events and ideas and other things that will shape our certain future and are characterized by it. I'm your host, Steve, and it's dark, along with my co-host, Zach.
Where it's light.
Where it's light.
Or at least
What's
light.
up, dude?
Nothing much, man. Sat around the house, not doing too much. I mean, I vacuumed and took out garbage, but other than that, we didn't go shopping. I'm proud of that. Don't plan on going shopping tomorrow either. Just
Nice.
protest. If you love someone and want to buy them a gift, just buy them a gift and give it to them right then. Just be like, peace.
Yeah.
Saves a lot of time.
Yeah, I know people that believe in that just random gift giving. I am not one of those people.
Come on, man. It helps to, cripple the capitalist machine if they can't rely on you to be a good consumer.
I just like to party. That's my love language. My love language is just helping people party.
There you go. Oh, man. But,
oh, yeah. So, sorry, I can't really hear you.
Oh, just not much going on.
What's that?
Just not much going on.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's all good. Have a good one.
Thank you.
We'll see you tomorrow. Apologies. That was my neighbor who is a firefighter. And now I am ready for show. You good?
Yeah, what have you been up to?
Oh man, my boss stuck around and I had to come into work late today, which was good because I wound up kind of staying up late and drinking a lot of beer. And so I was kind of feeling kind of shitty this morning anyway. So he told me to come in at 10, but I came in at 9 because, I'm just trying to be a model employee of sorts. Yeah, and then he had stuck around to give us a little extra time to dick around, a little more free time, right, during the day, because they are long days. So that was his gift to us, was I'll hang out at the tower all day and rotate you guys through so you can take some long breaks. My coworker Bruce got to leave at 3 because he really wanted to watch a football game that was on. And so me and the boss finished the day out together. And like I said, I got to come in late, and then I just kind of dicked around all morning, and they're like, "Oh, see you." So I just walked. I got to get a lot of steps in, walking around on old closed taxiways and shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then they fed us, and there was a nice meal, and the other contract firefighters, the guy I just spoke to is one of the contract firefighters, they're set up right next to us. They have a trailer they use as a break room, plus they have another Connex box type thing that they use as a command center and break room.
Mm-hmm.
Or additional space for them, but that's where they have meetings and shit. And then so they all came over. We set up they set up foldy tables or whatever and chairs. And we got to sit around the table and eat.
Very nice. We had a chicken breast, turkey breast thing. So it's 3 pounds of meat, I think. And then some green beans almondine and what do you call them? Mashed potatoes with some Greek yogurt. And then last but not least, some
you whip them with Greek yogurt.
What's that?
You whip them with Greek yogurt.
She did. It gave it an interesting
milk and butter.
I think it was in addition to butter. You sound kind of muffled right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I asked about milk and butter for whipping the potatoes.
I think it was just butter.
Okay, and
not
Greek
milk.
yogurt.
Yeah, and so it took the place of it. Yeah, but then some milk rolls and instead of some King's Hawaiian rolls, I was just I'll make some more. Made them last year, but this year they actually cooked all the way through. Very, very important.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. That sounds cool. I think my day was pretty cool. They're just really long. They're not
Yeah.
complicated,
Mhm.
not bad.
Yeah.
As I was telling Brooke yesterday, yesterday I got to. By the way, this is a Shooting the Poodoo episode 40. This is
41.
Thanksgiving. We're gonna bullshit most of the time,
Yeah.
and then we might watch some clips about fucking Mia Khalifa and Abby Martin having a conversation about fucking activism on behalf of Palestine and what the fucking solidarity looks like and shit.
Yeah.
We're gonna get to that a little later, but I want to say yesterday I got to exercise some cultural literacy
Oh.
and diffuse a pretty fucking gnarly situation where a Japanese pilot was on a student solo
Mm-hmm.
and had clearly not been trained to talk to air traffic control and also had not been exercising English as necessary to participate in the air traffic system or the national airspace system. But yeah, I was able to kind of diffuse some shit
Nice.
and get things settled and make sure that what happened, he didn't understand his instructions, and so he just fucking went on autopilot and did what he's trained to do.
Mm-hmm.
And he almost fucking departed into, because we're like, oh, yo, dude, don't let your guys drop. Like, don't send your guys, like,
Right.
keep orbiting or whatever, because they were about to drop parachuters. And they're
Oh,
like,
shit.
oh, it's too late. The light already turned green. There's jumpers going right now.
Yeah.
Like, and we're like, shit, he's trying to depart. And then we had to fucking eventually yelled at him, or I didn't yell at him, Bruce did.
Yeah.
But like got him to exit the runway.
Okay. That's pretty
And then
nuts.
I got to go talk to him and talk to his instructor and explain what happened and ensure that everybody understood what was going to happen. And he stayed on the ground. I was like, we'll probably be done by 2:30. They finished the last jump at 2:22, and they were on the ground by 2:33, and he was in his fucking plane flying away by 2:40.
A little bit of
So
an
it's pretty
incident
close.
report.
What's that?
A little bit of an incident report, though.
No, we didn't have to report it. No.
Oh, nice. Convenient.
What we did was essentially justify our services in like a single thing. Like, because we were the ones, like, if there was no air traffic service, that guy would have just flown in and out of that airport without saying anything to anybody. But it was cool. It was cool. He was really nice. He was fucking kind of terrified and very confused, and it was kind of sad. And like,
Yeah, I can imagine.
Somebody's shooting off a gun in the neighborhood. It sounds like kind of just like.
Oh, that's pretty close. I
hear that?
heard that. Yeah, that was pretty loud.
It also could be fireworks, right?
No.
Everybody gets together and gets drunk. No.
No, well, yes, it absolutely could be, but no, we already have them for the 4th of July. You know, they get used for other holidays. We don't need them on Thanksgiving too. Like, quit blowing up things. Enjoy your holiday without explosions.
That's the place to fucking.
What'd you say? Damn. Get down, maybe?
No, they're coming from that way.
Yeah. Crazy.
And really, fucking gunshots don't really sound like booms.
No, they don't. Unless
they sound
you're
more
very
like
close.
crack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't have
your
to hear.
earmuffs on and you're shooting the weapon. It sounds like a boom. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah.
Yeah, I had
but from far away, you're hearing the isn't it breaking the sound barrier? Like if you have a supersonic ammo.
Yeah.
Like it's the crack of breaking the sound barrier.
I was very glad to have good hearing protection every time I've been shooting. My hearing's already bad enough. I can only imagine if I didn't do that.
Yeah, I think we were told they didn't have a schedule, but they planned to fly Friday and Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
But they were pretty sure they were going to fucking take a break on Sunday. And have basically I mean, kids, they're military, right? They've been out fucking training, working fucking 12 hours a day, like 6 days. It's okay to give them a day off.
Yeah.
In fact, I heard a story several years ago. One of the jumpers here, because he said the jumpers, when they do get a day off, they'll fucking go to Vegas because it's like 4 hours, 3 hours or something. It's not that far.
Yeah.
So they run up to Vegas, and they said, yeah, one of the guys got fucking in a shit ton of trouble because he fucking got someone pregnant here.
You had one job.
His wife at home was not happy.
Yeah, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And
that's fucking wild.
All that woman needs to know is like your name.
Yeah. Yeah, military. Go ahead.
Oh, I mean, you know, when it comes to babies, like if a woman calls up and says like, hey, you know, I think that so-and-so is the father of my baby, you know, like they'll make you do a test. If it is, they'll take your money, and they're like, yep, okay, cool. That's taken care of. Our you know, record remains clean. So go after those military.
Yeah, they tried to say he was in a lot of trouble because it was apparently the daughter of like some mob boss. That you're gonna marry her or like you're dead. And I was like, I don't know if I believe that part of it.
Yeah.
I could see hearing the story of like, oh, you know, like next time you see, because they come out all the time, right? And you see the same people from year to year, some of them, especially like the pilots and shit, because they've been doing it for a while. And so they get to know. So it's like, oh, you know, oh shit, you know, the other guys in his unit are like, shit, you know what happened? So and so, tell the story, like, and it gets passed around a few times, and it kind of becomes an urban legend instead of like something real. So I take it all with a grain of salt.
Oh yeah. Really, I thought it was, you know, Reynolds that happened to.
Yeah, for real. All right, well, shit. It was cool. The food was good. I was genuinely surprised because they got it at Albertsons. And yeah, it was pretty good. And we got together with firefighters. I think I mentioned that.
Yeah.
We all sat around a table. Nice. They made some brisket. There were some really interesting green beans. Green beans cooked in a way that I had not had.
Ooh.
Which they took. They used, it looked like canned mushrooms because the mushrooms were way too fucking uniform for that to be like hand prepared.
Yeah.
But it's also Albertsons making it, right? So they're probably just using fucking canned goods or whatever. But it was like mushrooms, and then they had fucking bacon ends, like chunks of bacon.
Ooh.
In like a light sauce that was kind of like a gravy. I mean, as much as that gravy is just a sauce. But you know, I had kind of a sauce, and so it was like green beans, mushroom, and like bacon ends. And I think there might have been onion. Either way, it was in kind of a thick sauce. It was really good. It was a different than like your more butter and cheese heavy green bean dish. And I liked it a lot. It was a really good way to prepare it.
Less of a casserole, more green bean pasta.
Yes. Yeah. Or green bean, like green bean salad. Or something. Yeah. They were cooked, but yeah. Yeah, so it was good. And they had some mac and cheese, which was like meh, and they had some kind of scallop potato dish there that was like meh.
Yeah.
And they brought over the brisket. Their fucking brisket was fucking super dry, but honestly, the turkey from Albertsons was fucking perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, but the firefighters also brought over smoked ham, and that was actually really good.
Yeah.
And I had the very front piece that was kind of like scaly on the outside. And I don't really like. Some people are like, "Oh, I want moist meat," and I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with a fucking piece of ham. I don't mind if the meat's dry. Like I fucking love the shit out of some beef jerky, dude.
I was gonna say, yeah. We pay top dollar for fucking beef jerky.
For real.
Yeah.
Yeah, as we should. Speaking of beef, I'd like to jerk me. No, I'm just kidding.
No, you're not.
We were gonna watch Empire Files, which I'm just really like Abby. I think I don't know because they're very private. But what I've gathered from various kinds of interactions with other people that like are in her professional community, like another Lebanese, attractive Lebanese woman, Rania Khalek, and a couple other people are part of their like inner circle.
Mm-hmm.
They hang out and shit. Ani Parampel, that's Max Blumenthal's wife. Like they're just left wing journalists. It's a small community, right? There's not a lot of them, so they know each other just from professional engagements and stuff. And I thought I heard in conversation between two familiars that she had a kid, and so like right at the beginning of the pandemic, so like pandemic and like family life was the same time, and so it was like just a 2-year block that like her professional career was on the back burner essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But she's back and doing stuff, and she made a documentary during that time too, but she wasn't doing broadcasting, and she's been broadcasting like I think a weekly show for Abby Martin's been broadcasting a weekly show for like fucking 10 fucking years or something, because she had a show on like Telesur like way back in the fucking day, and then she had a show on RT. You're gonna look it up because we're shooting the poodoo. It's wonderful.
Even if we weren't,
I might have my
still
dates all fucked up. Yeah, I think I might have dates fucked up, but she's been doing it broadcast journalism for a very long time.
Part of the 9/11 truth movement.
9/11 was the inside job. Is that what her wiki says? Those are the wiki pages that are edited by the fucking CIA, Zach. Come on, man. Come on.
All the other ones that make her look good, though, those are not. Those are fine. Besides, what's wrong with being part of the 9/11 truth movement, bro? Jet fuel can't melt steel beams. I've heard.
You heard?
I've heard.
I actually disagree. I've seen fucking metal fires. Right?
I can like hear some funky bass going on. Trying to figure out
Hear it,
if it's
man.
over the. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if it's over the headphones or if it's outside. I think it's outside, but it went away. Oh well. It's pretty good while it lasted.
Hey. So we were talking about
Abby Martin. Yeah. 2012. Breaking the set on RT America.
Breaking the set? Okay.
Yep. It sounds like she's pretty much been about,
2012. Oh yeah, so 10 years. Okay.
Yeah. It seems like she's always been about, left and right is not what's, going to destroy us. It's all class.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I've seen a lot of what she's done, and I wouldn't say that. I would say that you would probably agree with that statement, but also like that's not really the core tenet of it. Generally, she covers like dispossessed peoples, oppressed peoples, basically the victims of fucking capitalism. She's definitely absolutely anti-capitalist. Calls that shit all this. Yep.
Calls it what?
She's just anti-capitalist, like through and through.
Well, yeah.
Which I guess could make you any number of things. I like to identify as an anarchist. Some people like to identify as communists or socialists, or we all just say a human-based agenda, and instead of one that basically like a horizontal, maybe the best all-encompassing term.
Humanism.
So humanism, but we also like humanism in a way that's not just like, it is not just lipstick on the pig, right? Like, but just genuine like horizontalism, meaning like we should work together to collectively benefit us instead of organizing society in such a way that like the entire productive apparatus of the society is oriented towards enriching a handful of people.
Right. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah. Well, I pulled together a little clip that I thought was pretty good and kind of sets up for the next one decently well. because it is a theme that follows through in the interview that I watched. I only made it through about like half an hour, unfortunately. I had bread to make.
I saw a transcript of some leaked audio of someone saying that it's not a left and someone on the Israeli.
Yeah, what's up?
Would you like to introduce the clip?
Sure, yeah. It's just Mia Khalifa, which I don't think is her real name, because that sounds like a porn name if I've ever heard one.
Also, she was called something different.
Yeah.
By Abby at the very beginning.
Yeah, she calls her Sarah something, I think. But
I wasn't going to say the name because I wanted to make people do the work. But yes, she calls her Sarah. She's like, "Oh, Sarah."
Something. You have to look that up on your own. I'm sure if you look at the beginning, there's like a card that pops up and says her name.
I'm sure you can find it. Any internet sleuth could.
Yeah. Anyone with Google. Anyway, they're just talking about how technology is being utilized against people and the age difference that is going on. And so Sarah/Mia is about to expound upon her thoughts.
Specifically, they're talking about she's Lebanese.
Yeah.
She's a Lebanese adult film star.
Yes.
And working in America, obviously. The adult film industry is centered in the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah.
It really is. And Abby Martin's a journalist, as we discussed.
Mm-hmm.
And they're having a conversation about, because Mia Khalifa it has been very outspoken. I mean, she's obviously a figure, like people know her, and this is the social media age, so like they do have like a social media presence that has like that's a significant constituency, I guess you might say, like an audience of individuals where you're like, we don't want them or they have some sway over public opinion, if that makes sense, in a limited way, but they have sway over public opinion.
Yeah.
And it's really important for genocidal narratives to I mean, what did the Nazis do before they fucking started killing Jews, dude? They got rid of everybody that wasn't Jewish that was saying, like, they got rid of all the non-Jews that were saying this is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
And once they got rid of them, everybody else hated Jews, so then it was easy to kill the Jews. Right?
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
And this is happening in a fucking huge way. We can discuss as this clip goes on. But yeah, that's the setup. She has social media reach. She's very outspoken on behalf of Palestine because she's an Arab, Lebanese, I believe, is what they say in here.
Correct. Yep.
I didn't really go deep into her background, just what I've seen in this interview. Although I know some of her work. Yeah, and so they're talking about Palestine and the risk she takes and the kind of backlash you receive from like very powerful interests when you're speaking on behalf of oppressed people, specifically the Palestinians.
Yeah.
I think that's a good setup.
Very much, yeah.
I'd say it's not a left and right divide. It's a young and old. The younger generation is catching on to everything, and we need to do everything we can to stop that. And TikTok was mentioned, in all of these platforms that are used to spread awareness and shine light on all of this. They're terrified of these things.
It was Jonathan Greenblatt of the Anti-Defamation League, and it was a leaked audio recording where he actually said, quote, "We have a major generational problem. All of the polling I've seen suggests it's not a left-right gap. The issue is young and old." And I think that really, it strikes to the heart of the problem, because Israel's losing hold of the narrative that they've been they've maintained the narrative for so long because of the collusion with the press. I mean, they're a junior collaborator of the U.S. empire. They work in concert with the U.S. corporate media. I mean, so the U.S. corporate media, like all allies of the U.S. empire, they just basically run press releases from the IDF, and they're just their media stenographers. And so for the longest time, up until the advent of social media, Israel's just been able to have this stronghold on like what the talking points are. But as you've seen Palestinians dictate their own reality, that's slipping away more and more. And they are so desperate. I mean, we know that they have war rooms at Tel Aviv University with dozens, probably hundreds, if not thousands of people who are literally employed to correct the record online, whether it's Wikipedia or whatever. We know that Israeli officials try to take down pro-Palestine posts on TikTok and Twitter, but it still isn't working, Sarah. I mean, because Palestinians are showing us real time, like, these are the atrocities. This is our life. You can't argue with that. Like, but of course they...
Not my Wikipedia. No. Oh, no. Steve is probably gone to the bathroom. Oh, wait, there he is. Yep.
No, I'm here, brother.
There you go.
I was moving to a different spot
Ah,
where I have better comfort. I did take a piss though.
Steve, they're telling me that my
yeah.
telling me that my Wikipedia is compromised. I can't stand it. I don't like the concept.
Told you, bro. Like, a lot of Wikipedias. I mean, all you have to do is look at how like fucking things like the vaccine were fucking handled.
Yeah.
Like, and also you look at YouTube and it's like they put content warnings on shit that like doesn't need content warning just to make, like, you know, a criminal justice professor. When I ran for office, when I ran for city council, one of the events I held, I had a discussion with a criminal justice professor at Chico State. And he said something really interesting to me that I had not yet considered, which is just by virtue of the cops stopping to talk to homeless people, right, creates the perception of criminality of homelessness. And it's like, oh, you're right. Because now everybody that saw that is like, oh, the criminal homeless. Right? They recognize it's just simple pattern recognition.
Yeah, that homeless guy was being talked to by the police. He must be doing something illegal.
Right, precisely. Doing something wrong.
Yeah.
He is bad. And it's remarkable that with all this, like, the suppression of discussion about Israel's genocide is really, I don't know. It makes you think that you're like, when did we miss the fascist takeover? Like, when did we miss it?
It was when we handed over literally all of our data completely for free to social media. I think that was exactly when it happened.
Well, not just social media, but like we give our data to everybody.
Well, yeah, cameras that are everywhere. I think that was probably right around that time. You know, with all the information that we give via like GPS on our phones and stuff like that, cameras that are all over the place. You know, most of us are not hiding or disguising our faces, so we can be tracked pretty much everywhere. I mean, that's probably around the time. So what? Like,
I feel like a lot of our conversations have gravitated towards the surveillance state as of recently.
Well, I mean, I've heard a lot of times that we're basically learning from Israel how to be better at surveillance of our own people, and like.
We didn't bring up any articles or anything, but I'll mention that I saw 100 people or hundreds, whatever the headline was, many people, more than a couple,
more than a dozen.
Yeah, more than a dozen, like many or several or many dozen of people have been indicted, and I don't know what the criminal penalties are. I think they're somewhat severe. Because a bunch of recent legislation passed to prevent people in Israel from opposing the fucking military.
Yeah.
And the genocide, basically.
I mean, that could even be covered by the Declaration of All-Out War. It could be, suppression of the media for security reasons and stuff like that. Like, I don't even think they need to do anything special for that. I think just by declaring all-out war, they've already got everything they need.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Because throughout history, we've seen all these moments where it's like, no, you can't fucking say whatever you want. Well, or not really. Like, you, as a human being, have the free will to say whatever you want.
Yeah.
Just based on our immediate political need, our being the ruling class, and then the bureaucracy, right? Our immediate political need takes precedence, and so whatever right or entitlement you think you have, you don't. Because ultimately, when it all boils down, it's those who are able to project power by projecting violence across space are the ones who get to decide what you get to say, no matter what legal legal system is in place.
Oh yeah, well, and I mean, I think that kind of got proved in Oregon a few years back, where all those ranchers were
Yeah,
just
the
like,
wildlife refuge.
yeah, they're like, we're just going to stand off against all these FBI agents. You know, they had arms and they had, the ability to resist, and they kind of got left alone for quite a while.
I think those branches that have like police powers, but like also have a very publicly facing organization. They take very special care after like Ruby Ridge and Waco and all those other ones. A lot of those like government agencies that have police powers like fucking became much more timid to enact them because they realized like we're not particularly trained to do this. This is not our function. Like the ATF, right? Rolling in and being like, we heard you have illegal guns. And they're like, hey, fuck you. We're going to shoot at you with our guns, whether they're legal or not, right? Right? And then it just turns into a massacre of like 24 fucking kids died and a bunch of other shit. Yeah, that shit was fucking crazy, dude. I mean, and no, like, fuck Waco, too. You know the move bombings, right?
No, off the top of my head, I don't.
Well, we're shooting the Poodoo. Look that shit up.
What's this called?
We can talk about the fucking the colony of fucking Palestine. We've been talking about the colony of Palestine. Let's talk about our internal colony.
Okay, what do we got? What do we got?
The move bombings.
How do you spell that? What are you saying? Move?
MOVE? Isn't that it?
Let's find out.
I
1985 move bombing.
It was a leftist organization in Philadelphia, and the fucking Philly police, with help from the FBI, dropped bombs from helicopters.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have heard.
Is that it, or am I getting the name wrong? Am I confusing details of different stories?
No, it's called the move bomb or move bombing. No, and I have heard of this. I've just never heard of the name before. I've just always heard of the circumstances.
Yeah, they literally firebombed a fucking black apartment block to kill a bunch of leftists in an American city.
Yeah.
And you said 1985?
1985.
Meaning you and I were alive. That's not ancient history.
Nope. It's not even the 60s or 70s. Jeez. Yeah. No. I've definitely heard of it and didn't know the name of it. But yeah, wow, that's pretty terrible.
So our government will fucking spy on us. It'll do whatever. It'll murder us. That's its function is to fucking continue to replicate itself and replicate the system that funnels the fucking vast majority of the resources into the hands of a few.
Yeah.
And it'll just be the hands of a few and those who aspire to be the hands of the few. And that's the cycle that we've been stuck in for fucking
ever
12,000 fucking years.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you'd basically have to, convince a bunch of people like, hey, the people on the, far right are actually like physically dangerous to you and your future, and we should all probably do something about it. And, you get the old standby of like, well, they're not targeting me right now, so I'm just going to stand by. Oh, they're not targeting me right now, so I'm just going to stand by. And finally they get bored and it's you. It finally happens. You win the lottery of who to be bigoted against in an ever shrinking pool of similar ways of life. And that's the thing, is like, that's how it goes. It starts off and it's like, let's get rid of people with a different skin color. Okay. Eye color. Okay. Hair color. Okay. Sexuality. Okay.
Lifestyle. Yep.
Gays,
fucking
heliocentrics, flat earthers. It just gets worse and worse. Yeah. Watch out, flat earthers. They'll come for you eventually. Maybe you should stop them now.
No, they won't. I think there's a certain element of mysticism, and I do think there's a correlation. I don't know, just looking back on history, maybe you'd agree that there's definitely a correlation between your adherence to Sky Daddy mythologies is generally correlated with periods of intense authoritarianism.
Yeah, I mean, basically anyone who's willing to believe whatever they're told is pretty easily controlled, and therefore a useful idiot to be kept around for as long as possible.
No. Or are we just so conditioned by fucking capitalism that we actually see a difference between the ruling class before capital and the ruling class under capital?
I sure hope not, because it just seems like feudalism with extra steps.
Yeah. I don't know. I have ideas of how to democratically organize societies. I don't know how to make that happen, except spreading ideas and ensuring that people understand what the next 30 years, what the next 40, 50 years looks like.
Yeah.
So we can make investments and choices now that start pushing society the direction it needs to go if we're going to survive as organisms, if it's already not too late.
Which it might be.
Which it might be. There's a lot of fucking, planetary systems change that's already baked into the cake.
Mm-hmm.
And not only are we not slowing down, we're fucking accelerating. We're getting into the wars for oil. All of this moved so much faster than I thought. Because this is basically how I pictured it when I fell down the peak oil rabbit hole back in 2011. I was like, oh, I get it. It's scarce. We already orient our entire fucking government apparatus towards fucking ensuring we have more of it because people are really happy when they have a lot of access to it. Right? And then what are we seeing? The genocide in fucking Palestine is precisely connected to this as the aircraft carrier in the Middle East. So the U.S. military always has a beachhead. They never have to do another Normandy.
Yeah.
They just have Israel. They fly planes into Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And why the U.S. is complicit in the genocide and already has troops and has been active in the region trying to keep it unstable and basically prevent a fucking a functional state to take root and destroying every functional state that existed to basically keep the society retarded in the sense of preventing them from reaching their potential.
Right.
Because they're easier to fucking steal from when they're not reaching their potential.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fucking crazy. But it's happening. It's happening right now. This is the oil wars.
It'll get worse. It'll get a lot worse because we don't have a whole lot of resources ourselves, but we have a lot of military might to try and take them.
We do have fossil fuel resources.
We do, but not
as far as it is required for our military.
Right. Yeah, but
in our consumption, we're importing.
Yeah, everybody else will get left behind. We'll have to do a whole lot of work, convincing people that going without certain foodstuffs is necessary for a war effort or something like that. I think it'll be a lot harder if some of the stuff that is being said in this interview proves to be true, and that is how social media is being used also to enlighten people about what's going on in their area.
It's the yin to the yang. For every Myanmar genocide and every fake fact-checked article you post, there is an equal and opposite person doing cool shit.
Exactly.
All right. You got more clips?
Oh, yeah. Just this one. But
perfect.
Zionists speak so candidly in the most disgusting way about how they feel about Arabs and how they feel about Palestinians and what they think the solution is. And it's just brushed off. No one raises an eyebrow. No one cares that someone has said this. It would be headlines everywhere if there was one interview of Palestinians saying this. It's truly gross, the double standard that exists in the media and in the public eye. And I think that we're seeing that right now with people getting fired simply for saying ceasefire, whereas people can hold up Zionism as sexy signs and call for hold up signs that say Hamas are rapists, all Palestinians are Hamas, all of these things that are just so racist, so abhorrent, so disgusting and hateful. It's a completely different standard. And we saw this play out in the last month from I mean, the United States is even talking about what we're doing on our phones and the things that we're interacting with to control the spread of hate speech and to control the spread of all of the, like, no one is talking about this when Zionists are calling for carpet bombing an entire civilization and an entire group of people. That's not what they're talking about monitoring or controlling.
Yeah, and even though they're doing it, it's like crazy. I mean, it's all based on hypothetical ideas and tone policing pro-Palestine demonstrators. It's not about anti-Semitism. It's not about anti-Semitism. And it's crazy that you see like the...
And we've already reported, I guess, talked about how that's already happening. And you know, they basically in, I believe, France, Canada, and the UK outright banned pro-Palestinian speech. I think Germany's scheduled for...
They were banning flags and shit.
I think just pro-Palestinian speech. It might have been flags. I didn't look too deep into it. I just read the first like couple of paragraphs in each of them because it's a bunch of different countries. But yeah, sounds like more and more it's like no, we're not allowed to like do pro-Palestinian speech, and it really just seems like the goal is to get people to stop talking about it. Because if no one's talking about it positively, then you're only seeing it talked about negatively. So it's already happening.
Yeah,
it's been happening.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it's just, I mean, the whole apparatus is oriented towards like maintaining the system.
Yeah.
And ruling classes are fighting over stuff, right? The Chinese ruling class is like posturing to figure out how they're going to make an alliance with the Russian ruling class to fucking take something or to secure some resources against the ruling class of the fucking Anglophone world, right? Like,
yeah.
And on and on and on. Like,
yeah, well, and then of course, the Middle East and the global South are too disorganized to work together to basically fight against the massive, media force that they are aligned against ostensibly. Like,
which is why BRICS is so badass, because that is the global South fucking coordinating. That's what that is.
Yeah, I was listening to a video about like how it's I forget exactly how they intend for their agreement to go forward, but it seems like a common currency would be in order. And so I was watching a video about like one of the potentials for it, and like how if you don't peg it to the dollar, if you peg it to something more tangible, whether that's a precious metal or something like that, like you can really use it to do market manipulation on the world exchange. And I was just like, okay, that's kind of cool. Very interesting idea. We should all keep our eyes on that. And so at some point I definitely want to go back and see if they are planning on a singular currency, even though it's many, many countries.
I don't know. I think I've talked in this space enough about how limited of a perspective I gain my ideas about what currency should be.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's literally like Charles Eisenstein and Jane Jacobs, right? Like
it's one of the more.
I haven't actually read any economists about what currency should be, like, I don't really want to comment on it. But like, I mean, I think about currency, right? I think critically about what it means, and I don't think, based on what I know, that it would be beneficial for them all to unite under a currency. Because I think being able to manipulate your currency is important to stabilizing exports and domestically consumed production. Like, yeah, I think there's a balance, and I think there's a benefit to being able to manipulate your currency. In fact, I mentioned Eisenstein, who actually is an economist. I think I need to double check. But he's done way more writing in like philosophy and hippy dippy shit than in economics. But I think he might have been trained as an economist. I'm not sure. You're looking him up?
Well, I don't know. What's his first name?
Charles Eisenstein. EISEN. Yep.
I think I know how to spell Eisenstein. I actually did. Author, public speaker, Yale University, environmentalism, economics, spirituality, and philosophy.
Environmental economics. Yeah, he has a degree in economics.
Yeah. Transformation.
Yeah, so he understands, like, he is classically trained, but he's not someone that people consider to be an economist. Anyway, what he says about currency is it should be connected to natural resources.
Yeah, I was actually going to circle around to that. That right now the only reason that you can really manipulate currency is that it's not tied to anything real, and so yeah, you could just say that it's worth more, say that it's worth less, change interest rates around. Interest rates, which are just a terrible idea, because like you can only go so far with interest. I don't know if I ever got a chance to talk about this. Okay, so tell me if this sounds crazy. So imagine you're the first person who's talking about interest, and you're like, hey there, I'm going to sell you this thing right now that you can't afford. You'll owe me what it would normally cost plus a little bit more. Okay, no problem. I'll just, work a little bit harder, produce a little bit more. There you go. And then this continues until the point where people are like, I can work no harder, learn no more, make no more. I cannot pay you back. And so historically, we've had all of that like reach ahead because civilizations have just died. Like, nothing's really lasted all that long. And so the kind of absurd nature of the interest has never become like super readily apparent. And I think we're getting to a point where it's about to become super readily apparent because like everyone's working as hard as they can, as smart as they can, as fast as they can, and still not able to pay for basic needs and having to take on more and more debt, which eventually they will not be able to service. And so like, I think we're about to reach ahead, when it comes to like how we treat money and how we treat interest and how we determine like, oh yeah, how do I, it's like, if you think about it, interest is really absurd. You're basically saying like, this much went into this, you owe me that and more because I gave it to you now instead of in the future.
Yes. Sorry, finish that.
Oh, and so I'm just really interested, to see if like we've become so resilient now because like everything's on the internet. Like Bank of America, if the US fails, has servers in different countries and could presumably just pick up operation the very next day with backups from there. So like that debt ledger cannot die, will outlive the human beings that it is like servicing. And so it really does seem like eventually it's just going to get to the point where there's no more money left to do anything with the exception of huge inflation. And then everything will fail. Maybe.
I think you're onto something. I don't really have a comment on the whole of that, but you had mentioned kind of like the exponential growth. You might notice the pattern, the exponential growth of debt. And at some point you're like, you can't have a reasonable, especially facing the limits, right? And that's a huge financial crisis, right? And the thing is that they're like, oh, like most people are like, oh, when the grid goes down or when the fucking banks fail or whatever, like society collapses. And you're like, right, but we could also just as a society get together and do something that's been done all over the place throughout history, and that's a debt jubilee.
Yeah.
And I just simply think one of the fixes is mass default. And I said that about student loans. I think I was on like a call-in call on fucking Sabrina Salvati's podcast, Sabby Sab's podcast.
Okay.
And I went on a call-in and I called in And they're like, I think it was about college costs, and I kind of explained it, and then I sounded really privileged because, like, I mean, I was, but not because, like, I grew up rich or anything. Like,
Yeah.
I have a fucking more fucked up life than like a lot of people I know. But like, or like, not a fucked up life. I'm very lucky, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
The consequences of poverty were real in my family, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so I consider myself very lucky, but I came across as being spoiled because I didn't really have college debt.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, so you don't have debt, so why are you even having a part of this conversation? And I'm like, well, fuck it. The problem with student debt. Okay, I'm still here, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking,
The problem with student debt, let me finish my thought real quick. Sorry, I pressed a button or something.
No worries. No.
Is that the people who hold debt won't just coordinate in fucking mass default. Because if they mass default, there's nothing they can do. What are they going to do?
Mass
I mean, I
arrests.
guess round you up and throw you into prison.
Yeah.
But like, and how is that going? Like, how is that going to like? But you just took a problem.
Yeah.
Right. People unable to pay back student loan debt, and you made it a revolutionary moment by like taking people's kids off the streets and throwing them in prison or basically enslaving them or putting them to forced labor to pay back something that was predatory and had been predatory since you allowed to. I mean, I don't want to say that student loans are predatory per se, but when you made it loans, you made it predatory. Like in other countries, like I don't want to pretend I know what happens in every single country, but my understanding is they provide a significant amount of support to people who want to pursue higher education. you know, and so we're in our own unique way, fucking. How can we profit off of this, right? We're going to tell people they want to do it, and then we're going to fucking make money doing it.
I've seen some great videos. We talked about it. Basically, student debt became a thing that was a profit driven. I believe it was in the 70s, and it was just like, hey, we've run out of ways to extract wealth from our citizens. Like, what do you got? It was like, oh, what if we start making them pay for school? That's a good idea. What if we also simultaneously make it so expensive that they have to take out loans at high interest rates? Oh, now you're talking, Todd. Now you're talking. Todd got a raise that year. Todd got a raise that year. Needless.
Todd, we just last fucking on Monday we were talking. Todd didn't get a raise. Todd got a fucking pizza party, Zach.
It's a big one, man. It's a big one.
They maybe gave him a fucking like $100 gift card to his favorite to Applebee's or some shit, bro.
My last bank did that to me. It was like, hey, thanks for all the hard work. Here's I think it was like $10 what do you call it? Starbucks for helping through with a bunch of prep for like transitioning to new systems. And it's just like, here's like $10 for staying late and all that crap. And it's like, gee, thanks. And then for Christmas, I went from having like a yearly bonus of like several $1,000s to like, oh, here's $100 card to Target. Like, guys, come on. You got to do better. Yeah. You're right. That person
especially when they give everybody a fucking gift card to Target, it's like, okay, cool. You negotiated a deal so that we think we're getting more than you're willing to put in.
Yeah.
And what you're willing to put in, or what we're getting already, is kind of insulting.
Yeah.
And you put in less than that.
Well, I mean, it's definitely along the lines of like, oh yeah, we went to Costco and got water park tickets, that are $100 face value for $80, and we gave them to everybody. And it's like, okay, cool. So you saved 20% off your thing by doing that. Congratulations. And of course, what their tax load at that point, because all gifts are the same and count against our taxes, is only $80 instead of $100. So bam, look at that, brilliant. Yeah. Anyway, there's more Mia Khalifa and Abby Martin. And they're going to talk about some of the shit that we've been talking about. Probably better, though. Definitely hotter. Because we're nothing good to look at.
It's okay.
Audacity of
I am.
liberal
You're not.
politicians to go out there and pontificate about the credibility of Hamas run this and that. And meanwhile, literally reprinting press releases from the most distrustful institution I've ever seen. I have never seen a government. Yeah, our government's pretty fucked. And there's a lot of propaganda that's gotten us into war and manufactured consent for horrible atrocities. But the cartoonish nature of Israeli propaganda to be completely uncritically parroted across the board and by the president of the United States himself, the 40 beheaded babies, the mass rape, the fact that an errant missile blew up the hospital after Israel bombed the hospital and told them to get out because they're going to bomb it again. I mean, the Hamas command centers under every hospital. It is like watching a cartoon from the abyss of like an alternate dimension, because it's like, how? They have zero credibility. At this point, we should look back and say every single thing that the Israeli military says should be taken with a very small grain of salt, because.
And I really hope that one day we can actually see that happen. Start to really take everything with a grain of salt. I think we're getting there. As they discussed, more and more, as people have access to social media, people are using it to broadcast from within the war zones like this, to document as best they can what's happening. There are people with Instagram accounts that are trapped inside and charging up the batteries whenever they can, just so that they can go ahead and post and keep everyone as updated as possible. So I mean, like real world, like embedded, because they have to be, journalism just done by normal people.
Yeah. Jacob fucking firebrands, man. It's so rare. Excuse me, to get people who are so fucking passionate about shit.
Yeah, and not stuck to decorum. I think that too often on the left, people are hesitant to be passionate, I guess. And when you're passionate, you use euphemisms, you cuss and stuff like that. And I think that people on the left are just like, oh, we're too proper for that. And I'm like, fuck that, man. We don't have time to be proper. Like, cuss all you want in order to get people's attention. Yell, hoot, holler. Just make it happen. You talking? Oh, you're still muted.
And yeah,
Have you been talking for a while?
I heard you talk. I had not been talking for a while.
Gotcha,
I was just saying that, like, I think we've discussed before that's one of the problems with the left, right? I think I laid out 3 problems. I don't recall what all of them are right now, but one of them was that the left likes to play civility politics.
Yeah.
The right wing likes to be like, oh, I'm a victim of your civility politics, or I'm a victim of your politics.
Yeah.
But like, so it's like, oh, it's so absurd. They say they're doing this, but it's not that. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're gonna do fucking things that are contradictory, and it doesn't matter, and no one fucking cares. And you're like, we're gonna be the good and proper ones, and then like, literally, like, the analysis I've heard, and I give credit to fucking Russell at fucking Due Dissidence for being like, thank you for articulating the way that I've thought about it. But it's like the whole, like in terms of electoral politics, the whole right wing, like their principal job, they don't give a fuck who it is, so long as they get to own the list.
Yeah.
They just want to feel empowered.
Yeah, and it also
Right.
helps to, like, when you don't have a policy, it helps to look good to your constituents. If you're just like, look, I stopped them from getting something that you probably opposed.
Yeah.
So they don't have to do much other than not let things happen, which is pretty easy.
Yeah.
Progress is hard.
Well, what's that, progress?
Yeah, progress is hard. Yeah.
I think it depends on what progress is. I look at a place like this valley,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, if we had access to a fraction of the resources that this valley and these communities have had access to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if we approached it with intention, this could be an absolute fucking oasis.
Yeah, I've definitely
It would still
thought.
be a desert.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I thought that the same about a lot of our degraded lands. That just with some work they could be a hell of a lot better, but there's no money in it.
I mean, they fucking took from the river and distributed the water everywhere instead of managing the fucking flood water
Mm-hmm.
that comes off these fucking mountains.
Yeah.
And the river itself flooded too, but it got dammed up, and then they built fucking canals everywhere. And so they have to fucking continue to maintain ditches to move water around.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of water, dude. Like
Mm-hmm.
there are canals all over the place. In my experience with canal systems is largely, I mean, obviously California's got like the California Aqueduct, and like we have all sorts of irrigation district ditches, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
but where I'm from in California, the fucking ditch has a length from one point to another point, and then everybody takes off the ditch. The ditch just helps move water away from its natural channel to further away, but people still move it from the ditch further to their own space. And here it's like there's just fucking canals. They pull as much water off that river to just sit in this valley.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking wild.
Yeah, I mean they'd
And
rather
then
have
they
it
have all
soak
these
into the
big
ground
washes.
than.
What's that?
I said it's preferable to have it soak into the ground than reach the ocean for them. So.
Yeah, and we could fucking probably just do a whole episode learning together about the fucking hydrology of the Colorado River, because like I'm almost positive because it goes into Mexico and there's some wildlife refuges along wildlife refuges on the Colorado south of the Mexican border, but I don't think the river actually flows in any meaningful sense into the Gulf of California.
No. We've actually covered that in the past. It's just a mild, like a tributary delta. At the end of it, looks terrible. The ocean is definitely like encroaching on the fresh water, and it's visible in
Destroying the marsh.
Yeah, and so
Which is not
destroying.
calculated as a consequence of a contributor to climate change, right? Like it is,
Yeah,
but it's like land use change. It's not accounted for in the types of farming they're doing along the river.
well, and just super concerning for any sort of weather control or anything like that, because now you don't have the marshlands, you don't have the ability to control, well, not control, but dissipate wave energy and stuff like that, and so waters make it further inland anytime there's a big problem. Yeah, it's just not great for anything, but pretty good for a few farmers.
Yeah,
some farmers are getting rich. That's good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy, we're over an hour, and it's Thanksgiving.
It is.
You said you had a date with your couch. I just got warmed up, but also we always like to keep these shows right around an hour.
Yeah.
So you don't get too much of us, because then you get tired of us. I'm a big fan of very long live streams. I think that if we did, I think we need to learn how to break up an hour into some shorts and into some 5 to 10 minute clips. Then I would love to stream longer because it would be more content. But if we're not converting it to shorts and clips, which are driving a lot of the views and getting more distribution, then I'm cool with an hour live stream.
To the short.
This is a good one. I really do. I do love it. I love it. I love fucking conceiving of what the world could look like if we just stopped. No, not if we stopped. I don't accept that. I'm a white male with violent tendencies, like, and fucking all of the fucking baggage that was imparted to me by my fucking family and etc. Right, in my whiteness and everything else. I have all of that shit, like, but I don't give a fuck anymore, man. Don't give a fuck. It's time for us to fucking vision a better future and fucking move forward, because, like, it's not going to happen when we want it to, when we're comfortable
Right.
with the arrangement and we're comfortable. It's like, so, like, fucking trust each other. Trust each other that, like, we only thrive together. Right?
Yep.
And we don't really survive alone.
Stop tolerating the one monkey stealing all the bananas. Go get your bananas, people. Pry 'em from the cold, dead hands of that monkey.
What? Hold their hands. That made you think like you're trying to fucking steal guns.
No,
And
I'm
I
talking about taking
got a
bananas
banana,
from the
the
banana,
banana shaped thing
the
from its cold dead fingers. I was like,
ear.
oh.
You know, man, the banana billionaires, banana ears. Just harkening back to that, you know. Yeah, just harkening back to that, you know, thing about, like, you know, like, oh yeah, you know, if a monkey like suddenly started, you know, hoarding all the bananas, like, we'd think that's really weird behavior, and we'd study that monkey. You know, humans have done it, or just like, congratulations to them, you've got all the bananas. Other people are dying. You're definitely a prick. Can we have some bananas? No, okay, fine. Can we implement some sort of, you know, trickle down banana theory of the economy? Okay, that's too hard. Anyway. You're right. We are over
You're
an hour.
supposed to start the music.
You talking about this music?
Well, thanks for hanging out with us on this. Things taken.
You're tinny. I can't hear you.
Things taken.
Ah.
I've heard of Thanksgiving. Things taken.
Mm.
Things taken day. I'm okay with celebrating Thanksgiving as a feast.
Yeah.
I'm also okay with removing it, like finding ways to divorce it, and moving it probably closer to Samhain and making it basically a Samhain feast, right? Like, or something similar, potentially a cross-culture day in between, but some kind of like post-harvest feast.
Yeah.
But not really getting like. We don't give a shit about the iconography. The point is to fucking just have a day where we get to make fucking dang ass food.
To that end, the most important thing we need to change about Thanksgiving is to put it on a Friday, not a Thursday. That way, normal workers can have some hope of getting it off, instead of just it being a day off for, you know, white collar workers. So,
or we should live in a society where people can take fucking time off work.
Or things can close for a day or two and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. All right, this has been the Thumbs Up podcast where we talk or listen to me, Khalifa, and fucking Ed Martin talk about fucking left-wing fucking shit. And it's fucking awesome, it's inspiring, and it's fun to listen to. Because I feel like in that conversation, which is obviously in the show notes, I feel like there's other people who are fucking as serious about this shit as me.
Yeah.
And that are better at being serious about it in a productive way.
Yes, and it's very important to remember that, as we discussed on Monday's live stream, there are other people out there that think the same as you. You are not alone.
You are not alone. Hey, isn't that how do you say you are not alone? There's no alien?
What? That's a Michael Jackson song. Anyway. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You're right.
Keep on singing this, we'll get copywritten.
Yeah, exactly. Just singing it like karaoke, starting getting copyrighted. This has been with Thunder's Applause, where we like to remind you it's always best to put the gravy on the breast. Peace.
Special holiday outro. Still Baby Yoda though.